afternoon. Hello, everybody. I'm Alessandro Gropelli from Connect Europe, Director General of the association that represents telecom operators in Europe since 1992. We rebranded last year, and they told us that Connect Europe could be misunderstood as being an association in the electricity and energy sector, which probably already tells you a bit that there is a reason why I'm here, because we are a very close sector. We were founded, by the way, in 1992, in line with the Maastricht Treaty. And that's when they looked at some network and infrastructure industries that could build the single market. One of the industries was energy, and the other one was telecom. So in a way, we are brothers and sisters also in being at the foundations of the single market. Just quickly to show you our members, it's the biggest telecom operators in Europe, and our observer members, that is the rest of the ecosystem, of the trusted ecosystem that builds networks together with us, and also the devices that run a bit into the networks. Let's a bit locate this connectivity sector and how it relates to yours. I'll show you the famous GDP number. As connectivity ecosystem, we represent 4.7% of the European GDP. By connectivity ecosystem, I mean telecom operators, vendors like Ericsson and Nokia, but also the content and applications that run on top of our networks. How do we compare to others? Well, agri and fisheries, today we have tractors and agriculture protesting in Brussels. That's 1.7% of the GDP. And on the other side, we have this big circle that is the energy sector at large, that is 20%. So we're not as big as the sector to deal with, but we are still pretty sizable. And even though we don't go as much noise as the tractors, we are about 5% of the ecosystem. Now, I promised that I would discuss a bit disruption, innovation, and competitiveness. So let me take you on a quick journey on how our sector developed, and maybe in there is some inspiration also for your sector that is going through similar or parallel transformation in some cases. Well, this is how our sector looked 20 years ago. So we're talking 2005. I was probably still studying, definitely. We got these phones that use the first ports of data connectivity, which is in between edge and 3G. There is some color in them, but colors are not the big thing that they do. We already have laptops, but the main way in which we engage businesses is still through the PC. Personal computer, with the upside that when we go home, we don't need to look at emails any longer. In some cases, we still have that 56K modem that does a lot of noises, but in many other cases, we are already on ADSL, so we start experiencing broadband, and we communicate with SMSs that are 160 characters long. Also, what is the internet in 2005? It is a bunch of websites that run on top of our networks as telecom operators. And as you can see, there is only one of them that is really still relevant today, which is Google. For the rest, a lot has changed. Then, 20 years after, that's a bit how it looks like. The old GSM standard, which by the way was a European standard with which we took the world in the 90s, which was the standard of communications, has now been replaced, and there has been the so-called smartphone revolution. So everything is about Apple, is about Samsung, non-European companies, by the way, that are leading, and they are our interface to the virtual reality. Tablets, connected objects like smart TVs, and most importantly, the world of apps. So a lot of the value that runs on top of network connectivity is captured by the app economy. So by what happens on top of the network. You will see that in terms of disruption, innovation, and competitiveness, this will become relevant very soon. Also, Connecting in 2025 is simply no longer just about the internet, but it's also about humans that connect to all those devices. It's about connected objects. I came here with my Volvo, then it's an EV car, and everything runs on the damn software. I still don't know what will happen if the software shuts down because there is no alternative. The data lakes and data centers that are connected and AI. So it's a completely different world. And all of this has been made possible by basically this evolution. So we started from voice, text, and now we go up and up until what we call today with 5G, fixed wireless access, by which basically you get broadband in your house also simply by having a box that connects to 5G and translates it into Wi-Fi. So you will say, this industry has done amazing things. They must have become very rich, thrived, and now they are at the center of the world. What is interesting is that while we, as telecom operators, network operators, have invested in all these network innovations, well, we have not benefited much about them. So let me show you a bit what happened in terms of disruption. First of all, who still uses SMS? We still use it maybe with the grandmother for some authentication, but most of us use the so-called over-the-top services, WhatsApp, iMessage, so on and so forth. Another one, video and business, that's a way that we miss, that other people monetize it. Think of Zoom, think of Microsoft Teams. And then, of course, voice. Voice today goes more and more over the IP. So basically your voice call is translated into data, into bits, and it goes on top of the network. And if you are using certain services like with iPhone or WhatsApp, it's basically end-to-end encrypted, and the telecom operator is basically hands off. So what happened to us is that we missed a few waves. One was the smartphone revolution. We missed out on that, also as a continent. So this is no longer a European story, as it has been with the GSM in the 90s, with European telecom operators at the center. We missed the platform economy. There is other people who are making money on top of our networks from the ability of using connectivity. And we miss more in general the consumer internet revolution. Should we be depressed? No, I think we should also look at the learnings from an industry that has been disrupted like ours by big tech and try to see if other industries that have not yet been fully or partly disrupted by big tech, if they can still keep central. Because to me, the key learning here is my members, we are those who dig the streets, put down fiber, set up the antennas, and for some reason, we are being pushed in a corner in which we are less and less able to monetize the investment that we made that somebody else happens to monetize. One. Number two, today this is becoming a problem also for Europe, because given that the buzzword is competitiveness, meaning how we feed our children in the 2030s, which kind of businesses will bring home the money to give the future jobs, of course, the fact that the actors that are extracting most money from the digital economy and that these actors are not European is a problem for Europe, for Belgium, for Italy, Portugal, Sweden, everybody. We need to redevelop the European technology stack here. And that's why we hope to catch some more waves. One is the so-called 5G standalone, that is 5G dedicated to manufacturing plants and specific use cases like healthcare, energy, and logistics. We hope to leverage AI for telecoms. It can help us become more efficient as users, but AI is about data. It's about moving around data from one data center to the other. So we should be able to monetize this movement on data in the coming years and going back at the center of the ecosystem as we were in the 90s and developed the idea of network as a service in which we can more and more sell you orchestrated networks as businesses so that we can recover a bit of the centrality to the ecosystem that we have lost. Where does that bring us in terms of relationship between our two industries? Well, telecoms is, of course, a user of energy. And for us, that's a matter of being number 2 or number 3 in each country as an energy user every year. That's the case in Italy and France, for example. Energy for us is operating expenditure. So the more it costs, the worse place we are because our networks are energy hungry. Carrying data is much more energy intensive than carrying voice or SMS. So, of course, it is also a matter of sustainability, but as we have seen very recently in an example that I'm sure was not mentioned yet, Portugal and Spain with the blackout, one of the problems that we had was business continuity. So our network had batteries, but those batteries after 60 to 90 minutes ran out. And even in those cases where the batteries were lasting longer, it was the users who didn't have energy in their smartphone to make the call. However, the energy sector for us is also a partner. And so I see a lot of our members teaming up with the energy companies of this world, especially those on the smart side, those who want to innovate, digitalize, and push a bit the boundary of the sector, because from intelligence and automation to microgrids and smart grids, IoT, smart meters, and the role that AI can have, and of course, how we can put all of this together as two sectors that are extremely important to the European economy and boost competitiveness. So, what are my takeaways in 10 minutes, almost 11, so I'm sorry for running a bit over. First one, innovate or be disruptive. It's 16 years I'm in the industry. I've seen this. Disruption is going to come. It used even to be a nice word. It was sold at least by big tech as something cool. Disruption is not cool because it's about people losing jobs. It's about industries not knowing what to do with their manufacturing plants any longer. But of course, our job as industry leaders is to think how to innovate and keep our companies relevant and at the edge of that innovation, because disruption is gonna come. The other one is that we don't operate into a vacuum. Following this industry for so long, I can tell you that my companies, because they are European, because they have their grants and their networks in the ground here, they are easily taxable. And it's easy to regulate our sector. So we have more than 30 years of history of regulation of our sector. It's far more difficult to regulate the big tech, the new guys in the block. They started only during the last legislation with the Digital Markets Act, the Digital Services Act, the AI Act. Nowadays, it seems that that's too much regulation, but that is the start. We have been regulated for 30 years as traditional operators. So today, one other thing that we need, and that probably also sectors that are as historic as yours need, is reform, and it's industrial policies that help us as European companies to keep the innovation here, to create the European technology stack at all levels so that we can make money here, keep it here, tax it here, and hire the people here so that we can grow. Last one is maybe a bit controversial, maybe a bit spicy, but I need to leave it here because we learned it on our team. Big tech is coming for you. So this goes full circle a bit with what I told you. Just beware that if you don't grab the business opportunities in your sector, the platform economy, the app economy is so powerful that it can be a partner, but it will also be able to cannibalize your traditional business, as it has happened in our sector at the beginning and nowadays in more and more sectors, from transportations to groceries to other things.